Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the first ever Grass Dhelmise card that we've had in the Pokemon trading card game. Dhelmise did come around just once before in Guardians Rising as a psychic Pokemon, although it was reprinted as a promo card, and it was a really nice psychic Pokemon that allows all of your metal Pokemon to do an extra 10 damage. Which sounds weird, but it fits with the ability in the video game, so it's all good, all fine, and indeed, all dandy. So now we're back with a Grass Dhelmise, and the question really here is it actually any good, or were we waiting all of this time for nothing? Now, as previously mentioned, it is a grass Pokemon. That doesn't mean too much nowadays. We've got Lurantis promo to add a bit of extra damage, but nobody plays that. We've got Leafeon GX to allow you to evolve up a little bit faster. I think I've made my thoughts on Leafeon GX rather clear. I'm not a particularly large fan. It does have a retreat cost of 3, which quite frankly is quite big and a little bit annoying, especially when you consider that Floatstone is going to rotate out shortly after this is released. It has got a weakness to fire, which is quite nice because there aren't really many good fire Pokemon at the moment. You got Baby Volcanion, hey Nick, but that really is about it. The good news is you got 130 HP, which means that you can take a hit from something like a Zoroark or a Golisopod, which is nice. 130 HP is very different to 120. It gives you an extra layer of survivability, which is pretty nice. And being a grass Pokemon means that you're hitting weakness against the Lycanroc GX that everybody's playing, and Lapras. And I know we've done a couple grass cards in the past couple days, and I've told you in all those videos I expect Lapras to get a lot better in the upcoming format, and I really do. I think it could be very, very nice indeed. So having a nice counter like this, pretty good. So we start off then with an attack that we've seen on a million different grass Pokemon over the years. Giga Drain. I should say our translations come from the lovely David Hochmann over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. And what you do is 30 damage initially, but you heal the same amount of damage from this Pokemon as you did to your opponent's active Pokemon. So in theory here, if you come across something like a Zoroark or like a Silvally, for instance, that's able to do a bunch of damage but not quite get a one-hit KO, you can essentially sit here and start healing off so that your opponent actually doesn't get to do very much to you. Now initially you're dealing out 30 and you're healing 30. It's fine. It's not particularly good, it's not particularly inspiring. 30 damage is fine. I mean, the good news is, against something like a Rockruff here, you will be able to get a one-hit KO, which is nice. And you never know, we might get some other relevant Grass Week 60 HP Pokemon. But generally speaking, 60 HP, I mean, look, it's a good starter, but we need a little bit more. So what you can do there is you can add a Choice Band, assuming you're hitting against an EX or a GX, and then you're hitting for 60. Little bit better. But then again, if you're hitting for weakness against something like a Lapras, then you're actually hitting for 120, which will essentially completely heal you. Because if you've got more than 120, you're getting one hit KO'd. If you're not hitting for weakness, we've still got other options. We do have the aforementioned promo Lurantis, and bench space is going to be an issue here. And getting set up is going to be an issue. But in theory here, you set up 4 of these Lurantis, and you're hitting for 110 every turn, while healing 110 every turn. Your opponent is going to need a one-hit KO to knock you out. Now, admittedly, it's not going to be all that difficult, right? You've only got 130 HP. But it means your opponent, let's say they've got a Buzzwole in the active. You chuck something like a Mr. Mime down on the bench so they can't hit the bench, and then essentially stick Dhelmise in the active, and it's a stalemate. Your opponent isn't going to be able to do anything here, because let's say they get a Buzzwole, and they add a strong energy, and they have a Diancie Prism Star on the bench. They're hitting for 70. Sounds good, but even with just a Choice Band, you're healing 60 a turn, so they're only actually doing 10, and as soon as you start adding any Lurantis there, you're healing as much or more damage as they're doing every single turn. Now, you do need to miss the mine to protect the bench as well here, otherwise they can slowly chip away at your bench. But that really is where this attack for Dhelmise shines. It's all about sitting there against a Pokemon that's not one-hit KOing you and healing off. Don't get me wrong, Buzzwole can whack free energy on there and hit you for 160 and get a one-hit KO. But then they're using a free energy Buzzwole to get a one-hit KO on a single prize Pokemon, and then you get to come in and hopefully knock out the Buzzwole with something else. It's a terribly inefficient way for your opponent to go about playing the game, and that's the goal here. Don't get me wrong, right? There are going to be games where your opponent whacks up something like an Ultra Necrozma, and Ultra Necrozma goes, I can get a fairly easy one-hit KO here. Well, if they can, alright? It's annoying, but these things happen. But against anything that can't get a one-hit KO, you can essentially sit here laughing in their face. And it's not just with Promo Lurantis here. Buzzwole does max 70 against you with just a choice band, you heal 60. Registeel does 30 to you, and you just plain heal 30, although if they use the other Dhelmise, they will do more than 30. I like this, and of course it's 2 energy, so if you're behind on prizes, you've got counter energy. It's a basic, so you can always use something like Max Elixir if you wish. It would even fit very nicely into a Vikavolt deck, and I'm not saying you put it in as your main attacker in a Vikavolt deck. What I'm saying is that if you're up against something like a Buzzwole, this is a really good attacker until you can get that Tapu Bulu out to get a one-hit KO. I am actually quite a big fan of this. It's not going to fit in every deck, but between stuff like Counter Energy and Vikavolt, it's not that difficult to fit it into a deck. It's a basic Pokemon, making it incredibly techable. I should probably mention it can use Ether Paradise Conservation Area to give it a little bit more bulk, which is quite nice. It gives it that extra survivability, but it's you know, your opponent's just going to play a Field Blower. It's a pretty nice attack. And look, it's the same attack that Torterra's got from Ultra Prism, except Torterra's a stage 2 that does it for free energy. This is a basic that does it for 2, although admittedly it does do a little bit less damage and has a little bit less HP. And then, of course, you've got the second attack, Grass Colorless, 130 damage. This Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. And look, I'm not going to go deep into this, but between Pokemon like Buzzwole and Lapras and Volcanion, we've all looked at the can't evolve next turn before and just been like, yeah, it doesn't matter, so don't worry about that. Essentially here, if you can get it rolling, it's a non-GX attacker. It's a really nice non-GX attacker that can swing the prize trade. So let's say you're playing against a Lapras deck with a Vikavolt Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu can get a really easy one-hit KO on a Lapras. It's hitting for weakness. Problem is, Lapras with a choice band can get a one-hit KO on Tapu Bulu, and between Aqua Patch and Max Elixir, Lapras might be just as fast as Tapu Bulu Vikavolt. It's actually not that great a matchup for Tapu Bulu as you would expect. What you really need is a Pokemon that can come in and get a one-hit KO while forcing your opponent to either Guzma for 2 prizes or take a single prize KO, swinging the prize trade back into your favour, and that's what Dhelmise does. I don't think you'll play Dhelmise generally as a grass attacker, but as a non-GX grass attacker in Vikavolt Tapu Bulu, I'm a big fan, because generally those decks don't play a non-GX grass attacker, and again, just being able to take out something like a Lycanroc and only leaving a single prize Pokemon in the active can be incredibly useful for winning the game. And this is really an ancillary benefit, right? Because Giga Drain is there for several matchups, and Buzzwole really does spring to mind, to frustrate or stalemate your opponent while you get set up. Imagine playing Vikavolt Tapu Bulu, essentially negating the first couple turns of your opponent's game while you set up 2 Vikavolt and sweep for the game. That is what potentially Dhelmise can bring you here, and that's why I'm giving it 3 Wossies as a card that needs to go in your binder as a really good tech. I like it in Vikavolt decks, I like it with counter energy, I like the big attack that can get one-hit KOs on stuff like Lapras and Lycanroc, and I love the first attack, which can do some damage and heal and just sit there. I don't think it's a play with Lurantis as a deck on its own, but I think it works naturally enough against a bunch of different things that it is absolutely worth playing in a bunch of grass decks. But if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section, or if you'd agree, I'd also love to hear from you. Positivity is good. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter or the Wasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.